Welcome, everyone. Yeah, great to have everyone around. So my name's Ben Tran, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a medical oncologist based at Peter Mac, and I'll be chairing tonight's session, Survivorship Unmuted. We're going to be really lucky tonight to have a couple of cancer survivors with us talking about their journey. I'm going to ask them some questions and see how we can make their lives better. How can we make their cancer survivorship better? We were going to have a bit of entertainment today as well, but unfortunately the stand-up comedian who was going to be performing with us, also a cancer survivor, has been unable to make it. So unfortunately what that means is you're stuck with me. And I have a captive audience for the next 30 minutes. Put your timer on, Andrew Weikart, we're going to go now. Right, it's been 3 years since we've had anyone in the same room. It's nice to be back, it's nice to see people again. And while the pandemic might not be over, the ability for humans to mentally deal with it, I think, is certainly over, right? We've had enough. We can't deal with it anymore. We've got people from WA, SA, and Queensland here, and they didn't really experience the same level of lockdown as perhaps we did in Melbourne or Sydney. And I will tell you, it was really tough. It was tough. But there were certainly some good things about being socially isolated, right? Like not having to catch up with people you didn't want to catch up with. Mark, are we being recorded? Oh, damn, I won't mention my in-laws. We'll leave. But there's definitely some things I don't miss about the social isolation in the last 3 years. There was the mustache I tried to grow during quarantine. There was the man bun that my 5-year-old and I had because we were trying to avoid my wife giving us a haircut. There was Ian Davis's lockdown hair on Zoom meetings. That was quality, Ian. That was actually quality. And there was the inability to kind of not have my scrotum waxed. Come on, all right. Gone too far. That's the one my wife didn't veto this morning. But I'm a testes cancer doctor. It's a joke, it's all right, okay, we'll move on. But some good things have come out of the last 2 years, right? Those of you who know me well know that I've lost a crap load of weight in the last couple of years, Very proud of it, thank you. It was thanks to a GP interaction. I try to look after myself. I try to see my GP every 3 to 4 months. I keep delaying it though, like other patients do, but I do get there eventually, get my cholesterol and blood pressure checked, and one consultation my GP said, Ben, your cholesterol's a bit up. I said, Luke, I don't give a shit, it's fine. I've got KFC tonight, it's gonna go down well, don't worry about it. And then he checked my blood pressure and said, Dan, you're kind of borderline. I said, oh, damn, it's real now. I'm getting older, I've got to look after my health, it's time to do something about it. So I did something about it, I've been telling patients to do something about it, and I've kind of ignoring myself. This time I did something about myself. I started eating less, exercising more, going for a walk every day, 40-minute, 50-minute walk. Then I bought a rowing machine. Andrew Weikart knows this story well. My rowing machine has a little app on it, and it kind of tracks how well I do, and it compares me to other people around the world. And I'm sure it's something wrong with my calibration, but I am ranked #1 in the world for many of these workouts, and I hold the world record for 2 kilometers by more than 30 seconds. I'm gonna... Anyway, I feel great. It feels great. It feels great to have lost weight. I'm now addicted to exercise and my new body. I do admit that I check myself out in the mirror more often than I used to. There's some reflections over there I can see. And I tell my wife that she invested well. She bought low, an intern, was fat, didn't have much money, who's now blossomed into a hot middle-aged man. But there's things I've noticed since losing weight, and it's that I don't get away with as much as I used to. In the old days, like last year, I'll try to be funny, like I'm now, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. And sometimes when people kind of didn't hear what I'd say, oh, were you distracted by my hot body? And when I was overweight, everyone knew that was funny. It was a big laugh. But now it just makes me sound like a big douchebag, right? So, and back then, when I had a big belly, I'd say, do you want to see my abs? It was sarcasm. But now it's sexual harassment. And then, thanks, Chris. And then, when I've had too much to eat and I said, oh my God, I feel like I want to vomit, it just used to be something I'd say. But now it prompts concerns that I'm bulimic. And this is a true story. Mark Rosenthal, some of you may know, oncologist at Melbourne, he expressed serious concerns that I was anorexic. He told others that worked with me, saying, we're just a bit worried about Ben, just watch his diet. And the only way I could reassure him was to shove a sausage roll down my face in front of him and keep it down until we left the room. Bit far, was that all right? Was that a good one? Okay, we'll take it, okay. But I've realised that not only do I have to be careful what I say to my colleagues and my friends, but I've got to be careful what I say to patients as well. Like, I don't ask them to touch my abs, that's the one thing. And as a GU, come on, okay, I'll forget about that. As a GU med-onc though, you know, our role is to often encourage exercise, right? I have my patients on ADT. I say, come on guys, you got to start exercising, do that resistance training, build your metabolism up. Or my testes cancer patients who have low testosterone. I said, come on guys, got to get exercise, get out there. It's not just about sitting in your office chair all day. And my line has always been, I've always said to them, okay guys, I'm going to see you in 6 months. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. We're going to come back and we're going to have done something together. We'll get fitter together. But now with my new patients who might be a little bit rotund, when they hear me say that, they just think, you're a freaking wanker. Look at you. You know, and I can see Andrew Weikart saying, yes, you are a wanker. You get it. So, but I realised I had to change my approach, right? So where it has been helpful, though, is the patients who've known me for a long time. There's patients I've looked after for years and, you know, having not maybe seen them like 6 or 12 months. And sometimes they don't recognise me when they haven't seen me for a while. I've got my mask on, I've got my scrubs on. I'm not as fat as I used to be. But once we get past that, many of my patients have found it inspiring. And many of those who I've been trying to get to exercise for years will text me, email me the day after they've seen me and said, Ben, I've started a program. I've suddenly found motivation. And I think that speaks to how much influence we have over our patients. And I think we need to set an example lead from the front. You know, I used to say, do what I say, not what I do. That used to be my line to all my patients, right? And that doesn't work. It never got my patients to do what I wanted them to. We need to practice what we preach. And it comes down to the fact that we should look after ourselves better. Now, our corporate colleagues, I think they found a pretty good work-life balance during the pandemic, right? They work from home. They spend more quality time with their family. But we as healthcare workers, we continue to go to work. We experience more stress than ever. You know, the virtual meetings mean there's less excuses not to attend something. Now I'm finding I'm dialing into meetings at 4 a.m, Chris, with the magic, yeah. And they're high expectations and we're exhausted. And if we keep telling our patients to look after their own health, we need to do the same. And we need to find a better way of balancing what we do, balancing the things that we want to do and the things that we feel obligated to do. You know, I think it's important that we're good corporate citizens as researchers. You know, we want to do things that support the community and help the greater good. But sometimes I think it's important to be a little bit selfish and say no. Because when these things affect the things that you truly care about, like your time with your family, it's not helpful. So tonight, we're here to talk about survivorship. Now, we're going to be very lucky to hear from 2 consumers or patients who have survived of cancer, and we're hoping to learn from them tonight and how to better serve our patients. 2 of my closest friends have suffered from cancer. My best man at my wedding, he's a cancer survivor, and the maid of honour at my wedding had gastric cancer, and unfortunately she's no longer with us. And while the immediate reactions from the people in the room is maybe I shouldn't be friends with Ben Tran, what I wanted to say today is that I've seen 2 very different ways of dealing with cancer, or having to deal with cancer. My best mate, he's been pretty good about it. He's just seemingly dealt with it, accepted it, tried to get on with his life, roll with the punches. He's invested more time in his family, he's working less, he's having more quality time, and not knowing what the future might hold. The maid of honour, though, my wife's best friend, she spent her final years very anxious, searching for a cure that didn't exist, prioritising the cancer. And I feel like her life was more miserable than it needed to be or should have been. And my wife and I sit and we talk about this a lot at home, and you know, we wonder whether she would have had a better final couple of years if she was more accepting and less focused on finding a cure and more focused on spending more quality of time with her family and her kids. But you know what, we realise it's wrong for me and my wife to think like that. You know, sometimes trying to get our patients to be a certain way or act a certain way that we think might be better for them is only going to make them more miserable. Now, every one of our patients is different. And the way we think might not suit them, and we shouldn't be going around to try to change their personality, but we should try to personalise our advice to help them deal with what they're trying to deal with. We need to better understand and accept others, not only gender and ethnic diversity, but also diversity in personality. We need to become better humans with an open mindset and to make an effort to understand others. But this is where I get on my whole horse a little bit. This is not just about our patients, but about society more broadly. We don't have to agree with each other, but I think it's essential that we listen and acknowledge. During the early days of lockdown in Melbourne, I was really frustrated with my dad. He was so negative and critical, and I thought he was becoming one of those people, one of those people who was kind of not aligning, not following the rules, not trying to do what was best for the community. And I tried to tell him how important it was to limit the spread of the virus. I was trying to convince him to behave like this or act like that, think like that. But being my dad, he's a stubborn old man, and I thought he's just being a stubborn old man. But then I listened, and I think we all need to listen, right? My dad is a Vietnamese refugee. He escaped communist Vietnam, posing as a fisherman for 6 months before one night, when there was no moon out, just going out to fish and not coming back, and eventually finding his way to Australia through Malaysia and refugee camps. And he told me that the ring of steel around Melbourne that prevented people from going from metropolitan Melbourne to rural Melbourne and rural Victoria brought back all the bad memories that he had of checkpoints in Saigon post the takeover. He told me how people were dobbing people in about having parties, brought back how all the people in Saigon were pressured to sell out their friends and family for being as past South Vietnamese soldiers. He told me about how checking in everywhere reminded him of how the Communist Party attempted to control his every movement, or that of the South Vietnamese people. And so, as usual, talking to my dad opened my eyes. It reminded me that in today's world of Twitter, where many of us kind of are so quick to dismiss, criticise and denigrate others who have different views to us, that maybe, just maybe, we don't have to agree. And in fact, whilst we might strongly disagree, perhaps the best thing to do is just step back, listen, and acknowledge. And after all, we are all human beings, and we need to make sure we treat all human beings with respect. And look, I'm not going to finish on this somber note. I'm going to tell a story. So in the midst of lockdowns, I was giving an educational webinar with Danny Heng to the Victorian medical oncology trainees. We were chatting about some data or some stuff. And then my son walked in. My son was 5 at the time. And remember that BBC clip, that guy, and he was kind of pushing his son away, and his wife came in to grab them, and it was all a bit awkward. I said, I don't want to be that guy. So with the microphone still on, I suggested to my son very politely, I said, Alexander, I think you need to go, Dad's in a meeting, And he's a bit stubborn, like his grandpa, maybe like his dad. And he proceeded for the next 5 minutes with the microphone on saying, Dad, I'm going to draw this Pokemon, Charizard or something. I just need to get some paper from the printer, get some pencils. And then he looked down at me, and with the camera still on, he said, Dad, you look a bit funny with your work shirt and shorts on. And then he said, yeah, good, I got found out, right? So then he asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm just teaching some young doctors about some stuff. And he looked at me and said, Dad, you're not good at teaching. Mum's good at that. I'll get Mum. I think you need Mum's help. And he started going out, Mum, can you come up and help Dad? So, look, even though you're stuck with me chairing tonight instead of my wife, who is apparently better at this sort of stuff than I do, thanks for entertaining my monologue. I know you had no choice, and I know you're probably distracted by my abs anyway. So, enjoy your night, and we'll be back after dinner.